Okay, so today is Thursday, April 26th at 9:30 p.m. I'm making this video to just kind of document what's been transpiring, just because I don't know what's going to happen in the future, in any way. But nobody seems to know what's going on yet. I've got to explain, but that's my point to starting this. So, just the details right at this moment. I am in a hotel room because this morning my brother, oldest brother, and his wife, C and M, well, let's just call them C and M. He's C, she's M. Showed up at my mother's place where I was staying because I had come back into the country on the 25th. 25th. And my mom wanted me to stay with her. So I went and I stayed with her. And we were definitely having a few difficulties with things. You know, my mom has been diagnosed with cognitive impairment. What exactly that cognitive impairment, we haven't discerned yet because they just did a Montreal test prior to me leaving 4 months ago, which was at the end of November 2022. And at that time, they did a Montreal test on her, and she scored a 14 out of 30. And our family doctor, who asked for this test and administered the test, mentioned something about an MRI, so on and so forth, some other details. I was leaving very shortly after that, though, and had tasked my son, CJK, to deal with it. Let's just call him CJack. So I tasked CJack to, follow up with his grandmother. Anyways, that wasn't transpired, et cetera. So back to the present day again. Present day, so I'm staying with my mother. And while I'm there, I receive a message from my brother C, his wife M, talking about monies that I owe towards the cell phone service with that because I had my cell phone in my mother's name. And but the thing is, I'm staying right there in the apartment. So I go and I question my mom to say, I don't understand this. Why is she sending me a message? And I'm right here. And so, I did get upset about it. And at first, because it was just like, why are you bringing these people involved? You know my history with them. Because the other interesting point, or very more than interesting, valid point in this that should be known is C sexually molested me from the age of 5, and the last time he attempted was when I was 14. So it wasn't a continuous thing. It wasn't like every week, every month, but it started when I was 5, and the last attempt was when I was 14. And at that point in time, I ran away from home with my boyfriend and got brought to the police station with him because my parents had raised the alarm because I was only 14. And I was taken to the police station, and at the police station, I told them why I ran. And at that point in time, they called my mother, my father, my 2 brothers down to the police station and told them about this, and everyone just pretended like, wow, really? But my family knew. My family had known. So, but anyways, even if that was the first time they were hearing it, what transpired after that is truly mind-blowing, because my mother sent me to live with my alcoholic father and violent father because she couldn't deal with me anymore, and left the police station with both my brothers, C included. And when I questioned her about that years later, she told me she had a good talking with him. Wow. And nothing was ever followed up. So at that point, at 14 years old, I realized that, you know what? Nobody is really looking out for me. You know, I'm really on my own in this world because, you know, when you think about it, like the people that you should trust, you know, trust the police, they're going to help you, your parents. Well, I had all of them there in one room and everybody dropped the ball. And another thing in this video, I am not doing this for any form of sympathy or pity because I don't want it. I'm not interested in it. You know what I mean? That is not my goal of this. My goal of this is to document what has transpired and how they are all reacting now, because I refuse to continue to play the game of acknowledging that it didn't happen. And that why couldn't I just, just get along for, it's Easter, it's Thanksgiving, it's Christmas, you know what I mean? My brother apologized for it years ago, but I wouldn't accept his apology. And he's been mad at me ever since. And he has gone on character assassinations of me through my whole family. But yet none of them ever spoke up and said, you abused her. You know what I mean? And you're wondering why she doesn't want to accept your apology. But no, because in my family, we keep secrets. We are diehard for our secrets. You know what I mean? Like, don't let everyone know that this family is like a serious mess. You know, God forbid, put on the smile, play the game. So anyways, so back to my mom's house again. Sorry, I know I'm jumping around, but there's just so many pieces of this puzzle that need to be said to make sense of why everything, it happened the way it happened, or as extreme as it is. So anyways, now knowing that my mother has this mental cognitive impairment, I've already made an appointment that we had for the 12th of April to go back down to the hospital together because we have the same family doctor. I spoke with her, actually, Dr. Rambiar, on Tuesday at my mom's house, and we had a phone appointment. So I proceeded to, it was a touch base thing because I just got back from the Dominican of 4 months. So, we were touching base about my medication and different things because I do take medication for a couple of different things. Mental health does run in our family. So I have depression and I have Prozac. But then I also had some pain issues and stuff like that. So anyways, touching base with her, and saying, yeah, it's been challenging in some ways, you know what I mean? But, overall, it's things are going good, you know what I mean? Like, I've reduced my medication. I'm looking forward to hopefully, getting off of everything. I'm doing good, I've started to do some trauma work. And I think, that's what the key is to all this, is I started doing trauma work and starting to understand a lot more of the dynamics that have been playing out and the roles. Like, you don't know what you don't know until you start investigating some of this stuff and to understand toxic family dynamics and all. Like, I was just like in the Dominican, blown away that I was like, I had no idea that my family was actually a thing. Wow. It was there were some days it was brutally painful, you know what I mean, to have to see this, to realize, these roles we've been playing for the last X amount of years that I had no idea we were playing these roles, but it makes sense. Like, that's what we were doing. So anyways, I think I started getting healthier mentally, and I was like, okay, I'm not going to play this anymore. I'm not buying into this. I'm not making excuses for people's behavior anymore. I'm not doing this game anymore. So anyways, when my mom sorry, again, back at her place, when my mom had involved C&M into our situation with the cell phone bill, of course I was upset because it was, I don't talk to him. It was hard enough for me to try to have a relationship with my mother, knowing that she still, communicated with my abuser, who stole my innocence of my childhood. And so I said that to her. I was like, I know you're losing your mind, but we've talked about this. You know what I mean? Like, for years you've known, do not involve him. This is not a new thing that I'm expecting you to learn in this time when you're having difficulties. No, this is how it's been for the last 20 years. Do not talk about him to me. I don't want to know anything about them, and I don't share anything about me. What's so hard about that? Anyways, so when she involved her, by, getting her involved in, our cell phone bill, and then for her to actually place a call to me, or actually leave me a message in regards to it, was just like, Mom, what are you doing? Why? Like, I'm right here. Why are you not talking to me? Oh, yeah, I guess I should have. And I'm like, exactly. So can you please tell her that you overstepped a line with me, and that's not fair to me, and that, she should not have involved her in the thing. I said, Mom, can you do that? I'm going to make a call to her, say, can she please call in? When she calls, can you please say that to her? Because I was ready to leave at that point. I said, you know what, maybe this was a bad idea that I came here. This is not working out. Let me go. No. She came to me crying, please, I want you to stay. I've looked into this building, and because I'm paying market rent, you can stay here with me, and yada, yada, yada. No, I want you to stay. I said, okay, well, I will stay if you do this for me. If you can do... Yep, no problem. So now, when Maria calls, my mom brings me the phone, and I said, okay, well, sit down here. We're going to put it on speakerphone. Like, we're all part of this. So put it on speakerphone, and I proceeded to start telling, Maria about that she overstepped a line, and that this is none of her business. And she said, well, your mother brought it to my attention. Yes, I'm aware of that. You know what I mean? But I'm right here. Why wouldn't you tell her to just talk to me? Do you know what I mean? And you know what? But my mom and I have discussed it. Anyways, my mother and I have discussed it. We have figured out where things went askew or whatever, and blah, blah, blah. So, you know what I mean? And then I said, Mom, do you have something to say? And she went, no. Really? We had a discussion earlier, Mom, in regards to that. I asked you to do this thing that when Maria called, that you would explain to her that was a matter between you and I, and she should not have involved you, and that because that was unfair to me, and to say that, you know what, I should not have done that, but Stephanie and I have resolved it. We're good, and you know what, I will not involve you in the future. Okay? No, all of a sudden my mom pretended like she did not remember any of this. So I outlined it for her, like I just outlined it again. You know what I mean? Mom, did we not have a conversation saying this? Did I not say that I will stay on the understanding that you would let Maria know that this was a misunderstanding, and that you and I had talked about it? Possibly. Wow. Well, I don't deny. I flipped a lid. I was like, are you kidding me? Like, it just never ends with this shit. So I was like, okay, you know what? I get off the phone. Maria, stay the fuck out of my business. Get off the phone. And Mom, I'm out of here. I'm out of here. This is crazy. This is absolute. No, no, no. I'm so sorry. Oh, you know what I mean? I la 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 la. And I ignored her and I said, you know what? I packed up my stuff and I said, you know what? Like I'm just staying tonight. I get my affairs in order. She came the next day, begging and pleading again. You know what I mean? That no, I love you. You know what I mean? I'm sorry I didn't do that. And I was like, Mom, you do understand you play these games. You play all of us children off of each other. And I don't understand why, and I don't know if I'll ever understand why. But you know what, Mom, you know what he did to me. Yes, she acknowledges it. She admits it. But she doesn't want to deal with it or deal with the damage it did to me. So now I wake up the next morning because I've now sent a message to Maria also, because she sent me a message first saying, I think it would be a good thing if I drive down there on Sunday and we speak personally. And I sent a message back saying, absolutely no way that's going to be better. That is not going to make anything any better, trust me. So I said, you know what? I just need you to stay out of my business. Yes, there was much more that was said in there, but there was no threats or anything of that. I simply stated that she does not know a lot of the dynamics of this family, and they run deep and dark. And so the next morning, I get up and I go to the bathroom, and like my mom has a very tiny place. So as I'm sitting in the bathroom, I can hear her on the phone. And then I hear her saying something about, yeah, she got the phone. And I'm like, oh, what is going on? So I got up and I walked into the living room. And I said, Mom, are you really going to be sitting on the phone with C right now while I'm sitting here? Like, are you seriously doing this? And she was ignoring me. But my brother was talking really loud because he's all worked up. So I start listening. I sit beside my mother and I start listening. And he starts talking about, oh, she's threatened to blackmail. And, and I've told Maria everything. Like, she knows all the secrets. And I was like, so I leaned over and I went, no, she doesn't, into the phone. I am pretty sure she doesn't. You know what I mean? Because how could she be with a man that has the history that he has with charges of rape, assault, sexual deviancy, you know what I mean? You name it. So, so at that point in time, my mother gets off the phone with him and she's all in a huffy. And I'm like, you're upset? Oh my God, my mind is just being, I said, you know what, Mom? Actually, I'm not even going to get upset about this anymore, because I've just come to realize this is exactly who you are. And you always have been, but somehow, or, magical fucking thinking, because that's another thing I learned with this whole, childhood trauma and investigating this magical thinking, and I've done a lot of it in my life, trust me. And this was one of them, that somehow my mother was going to get it. And she was actually going to defend me for once in my life. She was actually going to protect me. At 53, I'm still looking for this. I know. Anyways, so I just went, you know what? Mom, I'm not even going to stress about this. You know what? I've told Maria, don't send me any more messages. I'm simply, and I know I've just, told you M is Maria. Anyways, I don't think I haven't figured that one out. But, I just, I'm just, Mom, I can't cry anymore. I just can't be hurt by you anymore, because it's just, I'm the fool at this point in time that, you know what I mean, to continue to trust you. So, you know what? We'll just let it be. You know what? No more drama. It is what it is. You talk to whatever. I'm doing my thing. You know what? I'll help you out with a few things here, whatever, because we're just spring cleaning. We're ordering from Amazon. She wanted new bathroom mats and this, that, and the other thing. You know what I mean? So I was, helping her with that. We cleaned out the kitchen, we cleaned out this, you know what I mean? We're doing all kinds of stuff. I said, you know what? I'm going back to the Dominican in a few weeks anyways. So, you know what? It's all good. And I pulled out the laundry cart to, start the laundry because, my mom and I had discussed it, and she had gone to the store that morning, and I see the big jug there. And my mom goes, no, we're going to do it this afternoon. Really? Why would we be doing it this afternoon? And she's getting her boots on at this point in time, and her coat. And I'm like, and where are you going? You've just gone out. Oh, I need to get something from up at the post office. Really, Mom? What do you need up at the post office? I know my mother well enough. I said, Mom, is Curtis on his way down here? No. Are you lying to me, Mom? No. Mom, it's not going to be well if he gets in my face. Seriously, this is not going to go well because he has a temper too, and he likes to put hands on me. So, you know what I mean? No. And I'm like, okay. So you're really leaving to go to the post office? Yep. You're not lying to me. Nope. There's nothing you want to tell me. Nope. Okay. She leaves out. I hop in the shower. While I'm in the shower, I hear a knock on the door. Who could that be? Get out of the shower, put a towel around me, and open up the door. Lo and behold, if it's not Maria, informing me that I need to leave, or else the police will be called. I said, really? And she goes, yes, and Cameron is very aware of this too, which happens to be my child. C-Jack. Yeah, I've ruined all those things now. So, yeah. So C-Jack is involved too. I was like, wow, really? Incredible. I said, you know what? I'm going. Not a problem. And with the smug little look on her face, and I shut the door, and I packed up my stuff, and I left. And I checked into a hotel, which I should have done many days ago. But I guess there was a weird part of me that almost kind of wanted this to happen. I don't know. I'm trying to analyze it. Like I guess there is, because I really have figured out some things today. I really made some connections today at so many things that have puzzled me over the years about the dynamic between my son and my mother, and all these different things, that everything just showed its cards. And so there's one part of me that's why I'm not crying anymore. Like I've cried so much this week. And even earlier today, oh my God, the poor Cappy that came to get me. Mohammed heard everything as he drove me around the city trying to find somewhere to stay. Because my head was so frazzled, I couldn't think of where to go, oh my God, it was crazy. But what a sweet, sweet man. Oh my God, he was just so kind and so thoughtful and trying to assist me in every way. So God bless Mohammed, who's actually fasting right now too. And it's the last thing he probably needed was me in the car crying. And here I am again. I'm trying to still make light of things because that's what I've done all my life. And that's one thing I've realized with a lot of us trauma survivors. We learn how to kind of make it light, because otherwise I guess it just gets too heavy, that it's too hard to carry. So, you learn to almost kind of like make jokes about it, what your family thinks your family's so dysfunctional. Does yours do this? Like, and it's twisted. It's a really twisted sense of humor. But I've seen others do it too. So that's why I'm very much connecting it to very much a trauma response thing from a lot of us, because I've seen many other, trauma survivors do the same thing, where I'm just like, wow, why do we do this? And that's the only thing I can think of. Oh, God, I so didn't want to cry in this. I really, really didn't want to cry in this. I just wanted to state the facts. So, anyways, I still would like to continue my therapy, because as hard as it is, it's healing. It's making me feel acknowledged. I feel heard for the first time. I actually tried to call my father too, to see if, and that was another nightmare, but I'll save that for another time. But he just, I got off the phone with him and I was like, what am I trying to do today? Like, I'm trying to change everybody, you know what I mean? That they aren't who they are. Like I got off the phone with my father at one point. I was like, what are you doing? And I just went, you know what? I'm sorry I made this call. I shouldn't have made this call. Like, I don't know what I was thinking was going to happen in this phone conversation, but I need to go. So, and then my son. Wow, that's just a whole nother bag of, oh my God. Yeah, anyways, that's another thing to take on. But another thing that I did look into was what the statute of limitations was for sexual abuse. And I think I'm going to speak with a lawyer, because I would like to hear what they have to say about it. Do you know what I mean? About my situation and whatever. If I choose to follow through with any, that remains to be seen. But then the other thing that I would like to do is to also alert the police to the possibility of elder abuse with my mother, because I also found out when I was away that C&M took my mother to the bank to work out her will and stuff. And they are really wanting to get her to move out that way and live near them, or whatever the situation with them, around them, something with them, you know what I mean? And I had made Em aware of my mother's Montreal score on her test, and she said, oh, yeah, your brother and I was thinking that, that there was something kind of going on with your mom. Well, if you were thinking that, why were you at the bank doing her will, instead of taking her to the doctor's office to get her examined? You'd think that would be more of importance, right, than doing her will? So I really question, their motives in all of this, for sure, and to have to get me out of my mother's house, because, I could hear my brother on the phone. He was just ranting and raving, and, you've got to get her out, like, she's trying to blackmail, she's this, she's that, rah, 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 rah. And my mom's just shaking. I can see her on the phone, and she's just, she already has a little bit of a shake, but she was just shaking away. So I was like, okay. But I'd like to just make it, that's kind of part of my making this video too, because I'm not sure what they're up to, about them potentially, saying something about I'm crazy or I'm trying to take advantage, because I wouldn't put anything past them at this point in time. So I've decided I'm going to start making these videos, as documenting what's transpiring, so, people can see me, see what state of mind I'm in, how, how I'm seeing things, how I'm talking about things, etc., etc. So if they try to go that route, that hopefully this can help in some way, shape, or form. So, anyways, and it also just makes me feel better to just talk about this, and not keep it inside, because I've just kept everything in my head for so many years, just pinging around, which has made me struggle with depression and anxiety and suicidal ideation and all of those things. Most definitely. I have really struggled. But a lot of it has come down to these ones, because they're just watching me, like even my mother. She's watched me just like drowning this last year, a couple of years actually, and not ever doing anything about it. Oh yeah, okay, she came to the hospital with me when I went down, but doing something like truly helpful, like going and talking to my son and saying, hey, you know what? I think you could share a little bit more compassion for your mother right now. No, she would never get involved, but I figured out why. But that's for another day. But yeah, she's been undermining me the whole way. So it's been a really eye-opening day.